And therefore, we should also cater for the future of humanity by also having insights from astronomy. Allow me to wish you well with the conference and express the sincere hope that from this will flow a new fountain of knowledge and wisdom to help us become pathfinders to a more sustainable and humane future for all our peoples, and ensure that science indeed serves no other purpose other than that of social justice. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for the kind words. We will now have Your Excellency President messages of support from the World Science Forum founding organizations. And I'd like to invite them to come and sit here, and then they will come one by one to this podium and deliver the message. So Professor Thomas Friend, the President of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, who's also the co-chair of the World Science Forum Steering Committee. Dr. Shamila Nair Bodier, Assistant Director General for Natural Sciences from UNESCO. You can use this slide. Okay. And then Professor Sir Peter Klackman, President of the International Science Council. And then lastly, Dr. Sudip Parikh, the CEO of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. So we will then invite Professor Friend to come and deliver his address. I'm back. So
in the year 2013, this biennial series of meetings acquired a new dimension by being organized for the first time outside Europe by an emerging country, Brazil, with great success. 4 years later, we could attend a historic and truly memorable gathering in Jordan under the title Science for Peace, with an attendance surpassing all previous events. After the celebration of the 20th anniversary of the WSF in Budapest in 2019 and almost 3 years of COVID pandemic, we are finally here in Cape Town, South Africa, once again in a country which has already invested so much into science and technology and which is devoted to do even more. By hosting the World Science Forum is not only a testament to respecting the importance of scientific knowledge, it is also the expectation of a leading role in science diplomacy South Africa is also well known for. As I look around in this room, I have no doubt we could not have chosen a better location for this prestigious scientific assembly. The road leading to this moment has been one of a steady ascension, and the role of this forum in integrating the world's diverse scientific communities is certainly remarkable. I am fully aware of the tremendous underlying efforts that it takes to organize an international event of this size for the host country. Let me extend our sincere acknowledgements to the Republic of South Africa and the Department of Science and Innovation for pursuing this overwhelming task. Although this is but the opening ceremony, I am confident that the efforts my fellow co-chair, Minister Blade Zimande, and the organizing team from DSI led by Mr. Dan du Toit will give an inspiration to all who are yet to contribute to the success of this forum. Dear ladies and gentlemen, the main theme of the 2022 World Science Forum is Science for Social Justice. There will be several plenary and thematic sessions opening up the floor for lively discussions on the many aspects of this topic, but for now, let me just share with you a few thoughts on my personal approach that underpins this broad concept. There is no denying that scientific research and its many applications that fuel technological progress may have made our world a better place for an increasing number of people. Thanks to them, we live longer. Until recently, the number of people suffering from hunger or extreme poverty had been dropping steadily, and more could gain access to education, healthcare, and scientific information on a global scale. However, according to the latest UN report on sustainability, we seem to have reached the limits of our current path of development. Inequalities are more apparent than ever. Climate change seems to be unstoppable. Hunger and food insecurity are on the rise again. And so are the military conflicts, resulting in the highest number of people forced to flee from their home for decades. Our global civilization is clearly pushing its boundaries, and this must have its consequences for scientific research as well. Beyond the urge to deliver the latest scientific breakthroughs, we need to make sure that the scientific information is produced, distributed, and most importantly, used in a just and socially responsible manner. We must insist that it is indeed taken into consideration in policy decisions of governments, business decisions of powerful global companies, and in our everyday decisions as ordinary people. While we are more exposed to an unreliable flood of information than ever before. Science alone cannot deliver social justice. Nevertheless, I am convinced that the responsible and wise use of scientific information can contribute to achieving a fair and sustainable world. Our joint task as stakeholders of science, including my fellow researchers, politicians, media representatives, industrialists, and civil society, is to make sure that we use the evidence that we already have and act accordingly. Dear colleagues, when talking about social justice in science, we can't forget about the divides between the traditional powerhouses of scientific research, the emerging scientific powers of the world, and those which are yet to make a strong commitment. We cannot afford to waste talented minds anywhere in the world, and especially not in the young generations and developing nations. The role of the African continent, with its vast reserves of both natural and human resources, its extraordinary diversity of nature and cultures, and the still largely unexplored wealth of indigenous knowledge, cannot be overemphasized. We need to have this array of resources on board in our quest to provide solutions for global challenges. Therefore, it is essential to develop mechanisms which can guarantee that investing into science and education on the national level is not jeopardized by an even stronger appetite for brain drain globally. Coming from Hungary, a relatively small Central European state of modest economic stature, I am aware of the difficulties of preserving human capacity in science. I will be glad to share our experience at the Hungarian Academy of Sciences in this regard, but I am certain that other delegates in this room, including those from our host country, can also present some instructive examples. May I also argue for the importance of basic sciences and research driven by curiosity without any direct application in mind. A solid base in quality education and curiosity-driven research will continue to be the greatest asset of any country in joining the global leaders in innovation, but it will also be imperative on our way to the fulfillment of the idea of social justice on a global level. We are in great need of international science agreements and funding schemes that rate the preservation of and the support for national science capacities as a top priority and the prerequisite of global stability and sustainability. The four-day program of the 2022 World Science Forum offers once again a great opportunity for policymakers, journalists, representatives of industry and society, as well as us scientists, to engage in inspiring debates and honest discussions. I am truly thankful that we have the privilege to enjoy this program in such a beautiful city and among so many wonderful people from all around the world. I wish you all an extraordinary meeting at the World Science Forum in Cape Town. Thank you for your attention.
Your Excellency, Mr. President Cyril Ramaphosa, President of South Africa, Honorable Minister Bonginkosi Nzimande, Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology of South Africa, Honorable Ministers, Professor Thomas Freund, President of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, ladies and gentlemen, dear children, it is my great pleasure and honor to be with you here today and to deliver this speech on behalf of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, commonly known as UNESCO, your home. I'm a child of South Africa, and I want to express the warm gratitude from UNESCO to the government of South Africa for hosting this exceptional forum, the World Science Forum. UNESCO is honored and delighted to be a partner in organizing this forum, which continues to provide much-needed platform for scientists, policymakers, civil society, international organizations, academic institutions, and the population at large, and the media. The theme this year's Science for Social Justice is of particular acuity, coming as it does during a global pandemic, and at a time when energy and food prices are at an all-time high. These external shocks are being compounded by climate disruption. It is the potent combination of investment in science and a productive coalition of South African scientists working together and exchanging scientific information and data on the Omicron variant, COVID-19, that saved millions of lives across the world. During the pandemic, South Africa's scientific community have come together in a true demonstration of multilateralism, unprecedented international scientific collaboration, open science, beyond borders, beyond paywalls, beyond patents to tackle the coronavirus. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear children, science can foster social justice as long as solutions are tailored to local needs. For instance, science can foster greater food and water security by developing crops that need little water in areas suffering from water shortages. Science is a human right. In other words, science should benefit everyone. And as Nelson Mandela once said, overcoming poverty is not a task of charity, it is an act of justice. Science for social justice means using science to strengthen communities' resilience to climate change. The frequency and intensity of climate-related disasters, such as hurricanes, droughts, floods, are growing, making it even more imperative to reduce disasters and risks. So social justice is at the heart of UNESCO's mandate to reduce disaster risks. Our work as a dual focus on prevention and post-disaster response. For example, we are implementing early warning systems in the region and in Africa, in small island developing states, for floods and droughts, to improve resilience to natural hazards by providing access to the latest science, technology, and innovation, so that countries can be better prepared when disaster strikes. These early warning systems combine an analysis on the ground with satellite imagery and other technologies. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear children, UNESCO's international and intergovernmental scientific programs since 75 years in the environmental and basic sciences are fostering international collaboration. And the theme of this World Science Forum speaks to the heart of science for social justice. We need to invest more in our scientists and engineers, but also in our technicians. Science is not a flash in the pan. Scientific communities are not born overnight. Rather, they must be nurtured over time. This means that we must invest more in science and more in research. We must make science more inclusive in order to be able to draw upon all our talents. Today, just 1 in 3 researchers in the world is women. This has to change. In the basic science and engineering, we are working with partners across the world who don't have facilities they need to perform high-quality research. UNESCO congratulates South Africa for the launch of the Square Kilometre Array at this World Science Forum, which is a concrete manifestation of South Africa's cutting-edge research in physics, engineering, and the mathematics. People need more science, but science also needs public support. The public need to accept science. And in this new world, our education systems will need to evolve. We need a labor force to also evolve. We have to invest more in the basic science, technology, engineering, mathematics education. Scientists and engineers will need to evolve. We need more policy experts, economists, specialists from other fields. We need integrated solutions. We need to embrace a more transdisciplinary approach if we want science for social justice. And therefore, UNESCO supports the initiative from the Department of Science and Innovation to foster transformative innovation policies. If ever there was a need for more responsive national innovation systems, it is now. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, ladies, gentlemen, and children, in order to tackle the daunting challenges we face, we shall have to find a way to accelerate scientific progress. This means devising new ways of working together. It means making science more inclusive, more transparent. In other words, we need to make science more open. And South Africa is hosting the Africa Open Science Platform, fostering scientific dialogue across African countries in the spirit of the UNESCO recommendation on open science. We have other recommendations at UNESCO, such as scientific researchers, and also the ethics of artificial intelligence. Because we are in a race against time for smarter development, ensuring that science fosters social justice will require fundamental change in the way we conduct science. The theme of this World Science Forum will provide food for thought in the next days, how to erect the pillars that will support science for social justice. In other words, science to the service of humanity. Scientific humanism in a troubled world must be at the heart of all of our endeavors to build a peaceful world and to ensure social justice and science for social justice, valorizing all of Africa's talents. UNESCO is delighted to be with you here today. Congratulations to the government of South Africa, and we look forward to working with you, to taking science beyond and to all parts of the world, especially to the women and youth who are looking forward to you and to the conclusions of this workshop. I thank you sincerely.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, honourable ministers, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the International Science Council, I join in welcoming you to this edition of the World Science Forum. Our predecessor organisation, ICSU, was the founding partner with UNESCO in the first edition of the forum in Budapest some 23 years ago. Today I want to acknowledge the remarkable support of the Government of South Africa and the hard work of the organising team in the Department of Higher Education, Science and Innovation in getting this to this point, given the difficulties of the COVID era, in what will be a critical meeting at a critical time for the planet and its peoples. The International Science Council has a century-long history. Its natural science ancestor, ICSU, sponsored the International Geophysical Year in 1957 that led directly to the multilateral treaty that the Antarctic should be reserved for peaceful purposes. Surely the high point of science diplomacy. ICSU was the sponsor of the Villach Conference of Climate Scientists in 1985 that urged the multilateral system to address climate change, and that led directly to the formation of the IPCC. And its other ancestor, the International Social Science Council, brought actionable science, social science to the fore through its International Social Science reports. The need to bring these two ancestors, the natural sciences and the social sciences, together was obvious. The place of science needed to be and could only be strengthened with a unified voice of the whole of the scientific community. Thus, in 2018, the International Science Council was born, bringing them together in a singular global organisation. Its first president, Dia Reddy, and its first CEO, Heide Hetman, were both from South Africa. Never has a need for a strong global scientific and interconnected community been more urgent. Societies and governments need to understand and use science better. Yet at the same time, people are deluged with disinformation and misinformation. As a whole, we are failing on the sustainability agenda. Climate change has not been adequately addressed. Food, water and energy security issues remain the reality for many, particularly on this continent. Horrific conflicts continue and emerge. Issues of social justice and equality are inadequately addressed and are the topic of this forum. The COVID pandemic is not yet over, but what COVID has shown us is that both that we're all interlinked, our nature, our destinies are all interlinked, and it is the power of scientific cooperation that spans borders and spans disciplines that can make a difference. It seems important at this forum that we all understand what science is and what it is not, what science can do and what are its limits. Yes, science is the one knowledge system that is genuinely global, and it's defined by principles, not by belief, dogma, or political interest. Science is defined by being the systematic organisation of knowledge that can be rationally explained, tested against reality, logic, and importantly, the scrutiny of peers, and reliably applied. Its disciplinary scope is broad as its methodologies. But central to these principles are that the claims of science are open and subject to review in the face of new knowledge. These are powerful principles that should serve science, should serve the public well. But these principles are instrumentalized through science systems that vary by context, history, and culture. And the products of science are used by societies both for good and unfortunately also for bad, be it, for example, in war or in the projection of power. We must distinguish between distinguishing the issues of history and social justice and the contribution of particular science systems on one hand from the reality that science is the most powerful tool that we have to understand the world around us and within us and address the many crises we face. But to do so, science systems must evolve and must progress. We see the emergence of transdisciplinarity, engagement with other knowledge systems, including traditional knowledge, is becoming much better understood and more critical. The real attempts to bridge the gaps between the global north, east, west and south with science is critical. The increased diversity of those engaged in science is absolutely necessary. And the emergence of open science hits and is critical to the fundamental principle that science is an open and accessible knowledge system. But sadly, much of the science we do stays locked within our own science communities, and we must do much more to promote its access by communities, by policymakers, and to produce what is actionable knowledge. Sadly, the world is in a much more fractured place than when the forum was first formed. Science has much to contribute to healing these fractures. In this forum, much of the discussion will be on the issues of social justice and well-being for all. What is clear is that the global science community must use the very principles that define science to commit with energy and good, excellent science to help address the social, environmental, economic and political challenges that the people on all continents, but particularly on this continent, face. Your presence here today is evidence and is part of that commitment that science genuinely can play a major part in addressing the issues of social justice. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, honorable ministers, distinguished colleagues, and friends, I can't tell you how delighted and honored I am to be here with you at the 2022 World Science Forum in this beautiful city of Cape Town, where I feel so welcomed, so warmly welcomed. My name is Sudip Parikh, and I have the privilege of serving as the leader of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, or AAAS, and as executive publisher of Science in the Science family of journals. The AAAS was founded in 1848 by scientists as a multidisciplinary scientific society, but it's evolved over that time to become a mission-driven, multidisciplinary organization of general science with members around the globe. Now, yesterday, I had the privilege of visiting the construction site of the Square Kilometer Array Observatory. And I got to witness firsthand, Mr. President, the extraordinary manifestation of the creativity, the will, and the expertise of the South African people. The SKAO is a mega project requiring organization, resources, intellect, all over multiple generations. Multiple generations. It is, at its heart, a joyful and optimistic enterprise because it requires seeing 50 years into the future. I also witnessed the energy put into connecting this international project with the people of Kwaru and the Northern Cape. And that's what sets it apart. Because this project joins such projects, such human endeavors as Apollo, as the James Webb Space Telescope, as the Human Genome Project, as the Tiangong Space Station. This is a project like those. And I submit to you that these are the pyramids of our era. These are the Stonehenge of our era. They require resource and will of people over multiple generations. But what sets this apart is that these investments, this manifestation of the will of a people, is not for the benefit of a pharaoh. It's for the benefit of the people of South Africa and the world, both in terms of increasing our understanding of the universe, but also with the connection to the people of that region. Because I am certain that among the children that I met yesterday, the children of the Northern Cape, that there is a world-leading biochemist, that there is an electrical engineer who will solve the problem of battery storage, that there is an astronomer who will see farther than anyone has seen before. And it is that connection of the joyful experience of science to the humanity, to building up the people that are supporting these scientific projects. We as scientists must go into this with humility, connecting to the folks around us to say, what are we doing to connect to the people of our regions that support our science? Whether it's curing disease or understanding the universe, we have to make that connection with humility. This is not about the elite. This is about humility that it takes for scientists to be a part of their community. And that is what I see in the SKAO. And I think South Africa should be incredibly proud of this investment and its partnership, this model of partnership around the world. We have much to do. We have diseases to cure. We have poverty to overcome. We have climate change to hopefully put back into its box. But none of that is going to be accomplished without a model that requires the collaboration, the inspiration, and the pull, the compelling of these children from the Northern Cape, from Western Australia, from the Mississippi Delta, and from the Central Valley of California. We need everybody to be a part of that solution. Science for Social Justice, the theme of this meeting, is pulling that into one phrase. And so I look forward to working with all of you at this meeting to discover how we do that, because anyone that tells you they know how is lying to you. We as a group must come together and figure out how to do this. But you know, I'm optimistic. I'm incredibly optimistic, because I'm confident that as there was a AAAS president, Margaret Mead, who said that never doubt, I'm going to paraphrase because I always screw up the quote, never doubt the ability of a small group of people to change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Well, this is a small group of people. And forgive me, I do this often. I like to take pictures of the small groups of people that are going to change the world. And so, thank you for the incredible welcome here to South Africa, and I look forward to meeting each and every one of you.
Another round of applause to the partners. Thank you very much. I hope we'll be able to play a very short video on South African science, science at the service of society. It is possible. Are we able to play the video? A few minutes?
We believe in the power of science, technology, and innovation to create a better world. Since 1994, we've asked, What can we do to make our country and the world a better place? And we've worked to find those answers, because the challenges of the past weren't obstacles but opportunity. Partnerships, skill and funding created the solutions we see today. The Department of Science and Innovation, making sure it's possible. How do you predict the future? How do you plan for a world that doesn't exist yet? We ask questions. Questions that no one can answer yet. How do we feed a growing population sustainably? How will jobs change as automation grows? How do we get the information we need to make the right decisions? We ask, then work to find answers. At the Department of Science and Innovation, we partner with industry and other government stakeholders to find answers to some of our country's biggest questions. Not just to secure our future, but the future of partners, industry and South Africans. The Department of Science and Innovation, making sure it's possible.
Thank you very much. So we will now invite the Ambassador Attila Horvath, the Ambassador of Hungary to South Africa, to give an address by the patron of the World Science Forum, the President of Hungary, Katalin Novak. A round of applause for Ambassador.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, honorable ministers, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, members of the scientific community. I had the honor of delivering the speech of Her Excellency, Ms. Katalin Novak, President of Hungary. The World Science Forum, an initiative to build a bridge between the world of science and society, in particular society's shapers and leaders, was launched over 2 decades ago. By now, it has become a major world event and a consultation forum that cannot be overlooked. I am proud that Hungary played a key role in initiating and launching the event, as well as being intensively involved in shaping and forming it ever since. This is also thanks to the commitment of the Hungarian scientific community to support society. The Hungarian Academy of Sciences is a dominant participant in the international scientific community, and nothing proves it better than its ability to regularly convene the key figures of international science and public life as one of the engines of the World Science Forum. We thank the Republic of South Africa for hosting this significant 10th Jubilee occasion of the World Science Forum. I am delighted that the representatives of different areas of science, politics, and public life can meet here in one of the key countries of the continent of Africa and the Global South to assess together the potential and the role of science in addressing the challenges of our time. Neither political nor economic actors can escape their responsibility. But this also applies to the prominent representatives of the domains of science. To not take advantage of the abilities bestowed on us to allow our potential to remain untapped and our talent to go to waste is more than a mistake. A difficult period is now behind us, but times continue to be challenging due to the coronavirus pandemic. The World Science Forum meeting had to be postponed. However, in this period was experienced how much we needed the work of scientists. Deep gratitude and thanks are due to those who use the best of their scientists' talents and knowledge to save lives, contain the virus, and mitigate the social-economic impact of the pandemic. The success was not self-evident. It was based on decades of unrelenting work and research. I'm delighted and proud that in the fight against the coronavirus, we Hungarians were also able to show our scientific capacities. From among several scientists, allow me to highlight the Hungarian Katalin Karikó, whose perseverant scientific work allowed her to make a significant contribution in reducing the threats of the pandemic rapidly and significantly. The motto of the meeting is Science for Social Justice. Facilitating social justice is especially important in the world today. Wars, poverty, social inequality, sustainability, unemployment, gender inequality, gaps in access to knowledge, there are just a few of the problems marking the 21st century. We are scouring Mars with robots. We want to put a man on the moon again. We are exploring the nano-world. We are pushing the limits of the human mind. We are making sensational medical discoveries. We are finding new cures for diseases. And yet the problems I mentioned earlier have remained prominent, and we have not been able to find an adequate cure for the wounds inflicted by the injustice in our societies. We must keep asking the question, how can science and politics separately, but perhaps even more so together, serve and help people to find solutions to these worldwide problems? Is there a solution? Are there responses that could bring justice to the deprived? Can we be the eyes, heart, and the voice of those whom society's privilege do not or do not want to see? We know that these problems, these injustices afflict the countries in the African continent more. We know and can see the problems, and it is our responsibility to help as much as we can. Those in need can always count on the Hungarians. This is also why I paid a visit to Kiev a few days ago. This is also why Hungary is supporting the initiative called Grain from Ukraine. Through this humanitarian aid program implemented by international cooperation, we may be able to prevent the suffering from food shortages caused by the war in countries that had already been vulnerable. Securing the food supply chain and thus enabling the smooth flow of goods is not a dry free trader or market economy issue, but a life or death choice. All who are present today at the World Science Forum, politicians and scientists, are working to make the future a better one. Eventually, the mission of politics and science is the same: to work for the public good, to eradicate or at least mitigate the inequalities in society which lead to tensions. The more knowledgeable and competent we are, the better we may confront challenges. This is why we have duty to support education so that more and more people could acquire the treasure of knowledge and understanding. Now, we as state leaders have a responsibility to support scientific work, not only by making available the resources and putting in place the right working conditions, but also by taking advantage of science when making political decisions. We must act today to help our children and grandchildren have an easier life tomorrow. We can achieve most by accepting the statements of science as being true. Social justice and peace are twin sisters. Without justice, there will always be reason for fragile peace to be violated and for hidden tensions to rise to the surface. Science plays a huge role in finding solutions to the problems burdening our lives. Science may find a solution to the water shortage, the food crisis, the need to increase the efficiency of agriculture. It may prevent the spread of epidemics, find effective treatment for diseases, and protect our environment and natural resources. You, being scientists, can and must provide the answer to these problems. But science cannot solve all our problems. The fundamental question of human life cannot be answered by technical or theoretical means alone. A sincere desire for peace, facilitating cooperation, solving our problems and conflicts through compromise, supporting those in trouble and in need of help, these steps depend on us and are up to us politicians and state leaders alone. Scientists, business people, the political leaders of our societies, we can stand up and work towards peace with all our might. Without peace, science cannot fulfill the role it has in society, that is to improve the living conditions of people. No peace, no rest. If there is war, everything focuses on it, even science. And yet science must serve the people, science must serve peace, not unrest. Science through talented minds opens up great opportunities for mankind. It only depends on us what we use it for. We can use it to end starvation, to protect the planet and its natural resources, to modernize agriculture, increase its efficiency and adaptability, to overcome diseases and epidemics. Rather than all of this, do we want to use it as an instrument of unrest? There are times when making peace requires more courage than making war. And it is this brave stance that we need. We should trust not in raw force, but in the creative power of action and knowledge. Our goal shouldn't be to win wars, but to restore and preserve peace. The role of science has never been clear in this. Its discoveries made the lives of millions easier. However, countless of its inventions were put to the service of war as well. This dilemma has always followed the scientific community. Albert Szent-Györgyi, a Hungarian Nobel laureate biochemist, said, "For the first time in history, man is able to truly enjoy life. For the first time, he doesn't need to fear cold, hunger, and disease. For the first time, he can satisfy all his basic needs. But it is also the first time in history that he can destroy himself in a single blow or make this shrinking the planet uninhabitable by pollution and overpopulation. It is our duty and responsibility to prevent this from happening." Clearly, science is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it helps us manage problems, find solutions to the challenges of our age, and makes human life easier. On the other hand, the epochal achievements, discoveries, and results of science may also be the instruments of devastation and destruction, and the science confronts humankind with several moral dilemmas. Just look at the continuous development of various weapons, the impact on environmentally damaging technologies, or the biotechnical issues arising from artificial insemination, cloning, or the opportunities offered by stem cell therapy. Moreover, public consensus is missing on some of the above issues, and this has resulted in fierce debates. Science and ethics, morality cannot be separated from one another. Science and scientists must produce results that society truly needs, results that facilitate just and peaceful development. Therefore, we need boundaries indicating the limits of our freedom of decisions and giving us guidance as to what we can use from the achievements of science and to what end. Where should we set these boundaries? The answer given to this question will determine the future of humankind. It is a sad fact that countries must increase their spending on defense at the expense of creating and learning. Indeed, we need to be able to defend what is ours, but we also need development. We need growth so that inequalities are reduced, which will then, we hope, bring us closer to peace. I find it exemplary that the World Science Forum is meeting in a country that has voluntarily renounced nuclear weapons in a way that is unique in history, and where humanity and helping each other through the philosophy of Ubuntu is at the forefront. I hope that our host efforts in this regard are successful. May the scientists and government representatives leave our conference strengthened in their faith and commitment to peace. I'm looking forward to meeting you in Budapest in 2024 and the next World Science Forum. This was the message of Madam President. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. It is now my honor and pleasure to humbly request the President of the Republic of South Africa to give us the keynote address. Mr. President.
Thank you, Program Director, the co-chairs of the World Science Forum 2022, Steering Committee, heard Dr. Blade Nzimande. Those who know him better call him Bongingosi, which is we thank the Lord. But those who have worked with him, we know him as a blade. And that is his name. Who is the Minister of Science, of Higher Education, Science and Innovation. And also thanking Professor Freund, the President of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, ministers present here today, ministers from South Africa, as well as ministers from a number of countries on our beloved continent, Africa. And I'd like to pay tribute to President Novak, who has also delivered a truly wonderful message. And I extend my greetings to all of you delegates to the 2022 World Science Forum. And I'm also delighted that UNESCO is also represented here, and represented here by our sister from South Africa. It is a great privilege for me to address you at the start of this most historic event, the first World Science Forum to be hosted on the African continent. As Africans, we are truly delighted for this honor that has been bestowed on us to host this forum in the beautiful city of Cape Town. I do extend the warmest of South African welcomes to all delegates who come from, as I heard, 118 countries, and especially to those who have come from those countries. You are well welcomed to South Africa and to our beautiful city, Cape Town. Please feel at home. Make this your home away from home. Welcome to South Africa. Today, science more than ever is called upon to assist humanity in responding to the key challenges of our time, including disease, climate change, as well as food insecurity. We therefore need to ensure that this forum will not only be platform for vibrant debate and discussion, but will also lead to concrete actions, suggestions and solutions that harness science as an instrument for social justice. The theme of your forum, Science for Social Justice, is well chosen, and I believe that it should guide the deliberations that you're going to have. And we have already had really, truly wonderful insights that have been delivered by colleagues who have just left the stage. This theme expresses our conviction that inequality within and between countries is neither just nor sustainable. This event will inspire concerted global action for science to challenge and address inequality, injustice, poverty, environmental destruction, and marginalization. This is what I hope your forum is going to be able to do. By hosting this forum, South Africa is demonstrating its strong commitment to international cooperation in science. Science progresses when nations work together. It is through collaboration and cooperation, yes, in the scientific field and beyond, that we are able to make headway to solve the problems that beset our world. As this is the first World Science Forum to take place in Africa, we hope that it will contribute to advancing the African agenda for science, as well as affirming the crucial contributions Africa has to make in enriching global science. Minister Blade Nzimande referred to this continent being the origins of humanity, and it is now being called upon to find solutions for the challenges through science that humanity faces. I would say, yes, this is Africa's moment to address this as well. We have all the ingredients required to make success and to make an impact. Firstly, we have the rich and diverse complementary expertise of all of you, the forum participants. Secondly, we have access to significant collective resources. The brain power is in this room. We have the ability to cooperate, to build consensus, as we have done over time. And these are instruments, capabilities that can be mobilized for great strength in a variety of ways, including investment in science for social justice. Thirdly, we have our collective will and determination to ensure that science makes a difference by informing policy that will create a more just and equal world. I look forward to following the progress of this forum over the coming days, and to the declaration that you will adopt on Friday. I hope that it will set out a focused and concerted action plan for partnership that will put science at the service of society. And in this regard, I want to challenge this forum to critically consider the following 5 key questions set for the forum's debates, and to respond with clear and firm proposals. Firstly, what role should science play in protecting and enhancing human dignity and in fighting poverty? also fighting the unemployment that is so perverse in many countries, as well as the crushing inequality that we witness all over the world. For example, the inequality in access to vaccines during the COVID-19 pandemic was a gross violation, I would say, of human rights and contributed to further loss of life. The global scientific community demonstrated the value of cooperation in responding with unprecedented urgency to produce COVID-19 vaccines. Yet, the benefits of that extraordinary scientific work did not benefit all of humanity equally. This experience has informed South Africa's development of a national vaccine manufacturing program, which includes a partnership with the World Health Organization through hosting the mRNA Technology Transfer Hub here in Cape Town. I was delighted to see the people who are working on this program exhibiting outside there. This is part of a broader effort by African countries to produce the vaccines and other pharmaceuticals that the continent's people need. It was during this pandemic that we found that inequality was exacerbated, but it was also inequality in getting access. We were appalled that the richer, developed countries in the northern part of the world tended to hoard vaccines, largely for themselves and for their citizens, in the beginning to the exclusion of people in other parts of the world, particularly people in developing economy countries. And this manifested itself in the ugliest of ways, in that some of those countries hoarded the vaccines which were way beyond the numbers of their own population. And it was only after concerted urging and advocacy from us and various leaders on the African continent and other parts of the world that they started releasing some of those. Now, some of us found that to be a great injustice. Yes, a lot of money was thereafter raised to acquire vaccines, but in the beginning, the inequity that ensued was quite troubling. My second question to you as a forum is, what role should science play to enable a just climate transition that will enable us to minimize the social and economic impact and to secure the livelihoods of those most vulnerable to climate change? Minister Dr. Nzimande had already touched on this. Innovation and green technology must be at the forefront of our response to this challenge and must enable developing economies to exploit new growth opportunities in this regard. This is part of the motivation for South Africa's significant investment in developing a hydrogen economy, which will be presented also at this forum. I'm delighted that the African Academy of Sciences has embraced the energy innovation challenge. My third question is, how can we ensure the contribution of African science is recognized as a global resource that is part of the global response to global challenges? It is fitting that the World Science Forum coincides with a special ceremony to celebrate the start of the construction of the Global Kilometer Array radio telescope hosted here in South Africa. The SKA is one of our examples of African-led science excellence on the global stage. And I want to appreciate very much Dr. Sudip Parikh's remarks in this regard, and also the manner in which he believes that young people from the Northern Cape will be learning a great deal from this effort. And yes, indeed, I'm able to share with you, I've been reading your scientific magazines on a monthly basis for years, and you'll be pleased to know that I'm a great follower of the work that you do in America. We should also recall how the importance of investment in African science as a global resource was demonstrated during the COVID-19 pandemic, when many African scientists played a leading role in the fight against the virus. The work in genomic surveillance, for example, contributed significantly to the international understanding of the mutation of the virus. My fourth question is, what role can science play in reinforcing multilateralism, as well as global solidarity, which is under threat in the face of rising geopolitical tensions? If science is a universal language that does not tolerate discrimination, then we need much more science in diplomacy as well. Knowledge is a global good that we must employ to bring nations closer together. My fifth and final question is, how do we transform the nature of scientific enterprise, making science more reflective of the society that we want? We must ensure greater transparency and sharing in the scientific enterprise. We need to make open science a reality and maintain an uncompromising position on research, integrity, and ethics as well. The use of science for social justice requires committed international cooperation. This World Science Forum could, therefore, not come at a more appropriate and important time. I do want to thank the World Science Forum partners for entrusting South Africa with this responsibility. And I want to congratulate Minister Nzimande and Professor Freund on the steering committee's success in compiling a relevant and thought-provoking program. My appreciation goes to all who contributed to the forum's organization. Minister Nzimande and Dr. Freund, you've really done a fantastic job to bring together 118 countries in a forum such as this, and I believe that other people could be watching this being streamed around the world. It's a phenomenal achievement, and I therefore want to congratulate you for a job well done. Well done indeed. And I do want to assure President Katalin Novak, as the esteemed patron of the World Science Forum, of our continued support and commitment to continue working with the World Science Forum partnership to ensure the proud legacy of this World Science Forum, and that it will endure and continue beyond Cape Town. I would like to conclude with the words of former President Nelson Mandela, the father of our nation in South Africa, who said, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life that we lead." What matters is not the fact that we have participated in the World Science Forum here in Cape Town, and that we are scientists, and that we are learned and clever people, but rather, what will we do as a consequence to improve the lives of others, making our world a more just world, a world where we can enable people to lead their lives happily and meet their needs. I'm confident that this World Science Forum will contribute to the difference that humanity seeks and that what humanity needs. As the scientists of our world, you have this great opportunity, but you also have this great responsibility. And this few days as you gather here, it is on your shoulders to execute that responsibility so that the scientific knowledge that you have is employed to making this world a better place. I wish you good luck in your deliberations, and thank you very much, and once again, welcome to South Africa.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I suspect we've had the 5 questions, Mr. President, and we will be working hard together with, of course, the steering committee to think about how, as we proceed, we will give answers to these 5 questions. I do know, Mr. President, you have a very good memory of an elephant. So between myself and Minister Nzimande, we will have to, at some stage, give you answers. So, Minister, we will work hard to make sure that these are provided to the President at an appropriate time. So I just want to acknowledge 3 people before we ask Professor Katrin Sizarski to introduce the video of the start of the construction of the square kilometer array. In a letter that we've been joined by the chair of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education, Science and Innovation, and I've also been alerted that we've been joined by the Deputy Speaker of Parliament of South Africa. So we acknowledge them. And I do also want to express my thanks to UNESCO. Shamila is not alone. She's also joined by Dr. Ramos, who is the ADG on the Humanities and Social Science. And since we've been discussing this natural science and humanities interface, we're extremely happy that you've joined us. So let's move on then. Chair of the Square Kilometer Array Observatory Council, Professor Katrin Sizarski. I know she's not far from here to come and introduce the video. So you've heard a lot about this Square Kilometer Array start of construction. So let's give you a sense of what it is. A round of applause for. Sorry, Katrin, this side, this podium.
After the wonderful speech we have just heard, there is no way I could compete with the previous talk. I'm still extremely impressed with what we heard, and I think you can be proud to have a president that expresses such wonderful and important ideas about science and the future. So Your Excellency, President Ramaphosa, ministers of South Africa and other countries, AAA President, I have to salute you because of what you said, but of course also the co-chairs of the meeting, the presidents of scientific societies, and in general, Your Excellencies, ambassadors and high commissioners, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. It is my great pleasure to address you at this opening ceremony in the beautiful city of Cape Town. The World Science Forum is a unique event. It represents a magnificent opportunity for us to gather as scientists, officials, and policymakers to discuss the most pressing issues in global science. Now, I have a dual role here today, because in addition to attending this forum, I have the honor of standing in front of you on behalf of the 16 countries that are part of the SKAO, the global intergovernmental organization responsible for the construction and future operation of the square kilometer array radio telescopes. This week has been a momentous one for the SKA project, and it is highly gratifying that we can combine a celebration for important developments in the SKA alongside this important conference. Yesterday, Minister Zimanda honored, you are here there, you honored us with your presence in the Northern Cape in a ceremony to mark the commencement of construction of the SKA telescope here in South Africa. Alongside it, across the Indian Ocean, a similar ceremony was held to mark the start of construction in the Australian part of the SKA. The start of construction celebrated yesterday symbolizes the truly outstanding feats of science and technology we can achieve when we set forth in the best spirit of international teamwork, pooling our wisdom, resources, and determination to answer universally held questions. It has been 30 years since the first discussions between astronomers from around the world took place, leading to the wish to build an ambitious radio telescope with a collecting area of a square kilometer. Its initial goal was to look back to a time when the first stars and galaxies formed in our universe. It has then taken a generation to build a science case for such a groundbreaking facility. The science case now is much broader than its initial ambition. It has taken then a generation to select extraordinary sites and to develop the cutting-edge technology required to deliver it, and to secure the international backing for its realization through years of science diplomacy. Yesterday, SKAO took a giant leap forward by holding construction commencement ceremonies for the two SKA telescopes. I was delighted to speak at the Northern Cape event, and as I remarked there, I found it a profoundly emotional experience to witness the progress made and the impacts being felt in many ways in local areas. We can use such moments to reflect on human ingenuity and persistence and think about what is still to come from global projects such as SKA. Over the coming years, tens of dishes of the SKA mid-array will blossom in the Karoo region of the Northern Cape. On the other side of the world, tens of thousands of antennas of SKA low will rise from the Earth in Western Australia. The community waits in anticipation for our observatory to come fully online towards the end of the decade. The SKA telescopes will produce data at an unprecedented volume and rate, and will require a global collaborative effect to exploit fully. The notion of building bridges and cooperation between nations and communities to enable science is already a given and already happening in the SKA world. Yesterday, Minister Zimande announced the awarding of contracts to deliver the infrastructure for the SKA telescope in the Karoo. With the awarding of a similar infrastructure contract in Australia, and of contracts for the manufacturing of the SKA dishes and antennas, this brings the total investment announced yesterday to 300 million euros across half a dozen countries, and the total committed by the SKAO so far to close to 500 million euros across the partnership. This is a direct economic and industrial return across the globe as a result of the SKA, an impact that will flow from large companies through to local industries and businesses. But the impact of SKAO, like other research infrastructures being discussed in this conference, is much more than this simple direct economic return. For example, the development of radio astronomy here in South Africa and more generally across the continent, has already facilitated the creation of a new generation of scientists, engineers, and technicians. Yesterday, we heard from 3 young people whose life has been reshaped thanks to a bursary program supported by the South African government. Radio astronomy has changed these young people's lives and offered them unique opportunities. Sustainability and inclusion must surely be themes this week. The SKAO is committed to ensuring that the activities will be as sustainable as possible, and it places emphasis on the way the work will be done with the communities which host the SKAO, whether in South Africa or on the land of the Wahari Yamahi in Western Australia. There are already myriad tangible examples of impact stemming from the SKA across the partnership. This impact is wide-ranging, going from some innovation already spinning out to other applications and other fields, to helping bridge the gender gap in STEM fields, or ensuring the protection of cultural indigenous heritage around the SKA telescope sites. SKA, we keep saying, is a global project, but here in South Africa, I must take the opportunity to acknowledge the critical support of the government of South Africa. SKAO is indebted also to the tireless preparatory work of the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory, SARAO, and the Department of Science and Innovation in particular. Built by SARAO, the Meerkat telescope, which is already sitting in the site where SKA will be, and which will be eventually encompassed in SKA, is already working and giving extraordinary results. And it's the leading such facility in the Southern Hemisphere and almost in the world, and it has become the jewel in South Africa's astronomy crown. So now I have the pleasure to introduce to you a new short film summarizing the recent progress and future potential of the SKAO. The film aims to give you a small idea of the scope of the SKAO and its importance as a tool for science and societal impact around the world. It features astronomers from different countries involved in SKA. It shows diversity in many forms and conveys the excitement of the SKAO and its work. I hope you will enjoy the next few minutes of film, and I look forward to this week of engagement and discussions with you all. Thank you very much.
Having scientists in academia and industry working together has been key for us.
It's really important to cooperate with this big organization to improve the company, to improve the production.
We hope that over the next few years, our teams in collaboration with our international partners will be able to build a powerful, very capable and robust monitoring and control system for the SKA telescope.
My contract is to construct the frequency distribution system for the SK Mid telescope to ensure that all the antennas of the array are perfectly synchronized.
大家可以想象一下，它是相当于6层楼高，一个天线现在40多吨，架起来它指向要这么高，然后我们这个天线在这么各种风力、温度和重力的条件下都要保持不变形，所以这是个很大的挑战。
per migliorare le proprie conoscenze e le proprie tecnologie industriali, si è avvicinato ai Big Science Project. Uno di questi, e più importante, è SKA, sul quale stiamo sviluppando e realizzando i feed indexer.
We've been on a multi-decade journey. I am so excited to see construction starting in earnest and telescopes blossoming in the Karoo and in the Murchison in Western Australia.
Hosting the SKA-led telescope on Wadjuri country here in Australia takes advantage of the unique radio quietness of our remote Midwest region. The challenges of the SKA project are an incredible opportunity for Australians to showcase our skills to the world across industry, government and tertiary sectors.
We've learned that these projects can have an impact in education and development of the countries. So the SKAO is going to bring more training in the STEM field.
This project is one of the major successes of South Africa broadly, but of science and technology in the country in general.
We want to do our bit to support the economy. We want to be good neighbours to all of the stakeholders.
We have data challenges, we have people challenges, we have technical mountains to climb, and the Square Kilometre Array will do these on scales never before seen. This is going to unveil an invisible universe which we would never possibly have been able to see without it.
The SKA is going to have a huge impact on our understanding of the fundamental quantities of the universe, be able to inspire the next generation of astronomers to ask the next generation of questions.
We are sure that in the coming years we are going to live a great adventure together with our partners from countries all over the world. And we are proud and very excited to help making the SKA a reality.